So, welcome to another Wargame review from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander.
And I'm Grant.
And today, we finally got to the table Bloody Mohawk, which is the French-Indian War. And this is a brand new wargame from Lock and Load Publishing. This is an introductory style game. If you look, it's a really thin, small 1-inch box. And it obviously covers the French-Indian War. It's not a tactical level game, but it's a game that has a very low counter density.
I would say it is tactical because you're moving around on terrain and you're trying to position yourselves to fire.
But I don't think this is like a man or a squad.
Oh yeah, I know what you're saying.
I think it's a bigger scale, but it feels like a tactical game.
Right,
honestly.
Right.
The maps are really small. It's single kind of letter page maps. There are 12 of these in the game, so you get a lot of scenarios for it. And I think the game retails on their website for like $35. Mm-hmm. So you end up looking at just over $2 a scenario, basically. And it's you get quite a surprising amount in the game, and introductory style. And what I mean by that is this is really easy to learn.
Very basic. You don't have zones of influence. You don't have a lot of depth to the rules. It's pretty basic.
Yeah, not a lot of supply.
Move, shoot. Pretty simple.
That's about it. There's some cool pieces with the sequence of play where, like, I move, you do defensive fire, I do offensive fire, then you move, I do some more defensive fire. So it's not just a move, shoot, move, shoot, move, shoot. There's a little bit more in there as well, which I think is really cool. And it keeps the title very faithful. Bloody Mohawk. This is a bloody game.
It is.
Lots of things are going to die.
Well, and back to your comment about the, not traditional I go, you go, or move and shoot. To me, this was very thematic. I had to think about, the Napoleonic style of warfare, line them up, move out, try to get in range and fire, while the Indians are different than that, right? They have some more guerrilla-type tactics, advance after combat, fire after combat.
Moving through the forest, things like that.
I had to think about, okay, I'm going to line up and I'm going to march into range, and the defensive fire is going to come first. So when we were playing, we played 2 scenarios, and I really had to think, can I withstand that 3 or 4 units doing defensive fire on me before I can fire? So I had to ask myself that. So it forced me to look at their statistics a little bit, which I liked. I thought that was kind of cool. But I thought it was thematic for that style of this period.
Now, the maps, again, very small. Counter density, typically low. So we played a couple scenarios back to back because
they're quick.
The games are 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
I think our first game was 5 minutes long, and we had about 10 total counters together.
I had like 4 units, and
I had 6. So you lose 3 or 4 units, and that scenario was over.
And what's nice is with those small maps, is you don't spend 20 minutes traipsing across the map,
right?
Psyching yourself out. Oh, should I leave my terrain? You're just like, I start on top of you. Let's kill each other, and let's see if I can get that objective, kind of thing. Right. And even we did the Battle of Fort William Henry, where there is a big fort, there's some open ground, I got cannons, I can defend myself, there's some forest there, and you have a line of cannons entrenched there as well, so there's a bit more of a pitched battle. It's still, there's the hexes and the scale is so small where it's like, I charge in, and then we're instantly going at it. It's not, you're not kind of pissing around on a huge map. Like, that makes for a good introductory game to be. Because it introduces you to the combat and the fighting system, and you get it done every time.
Yeah, it's also very interesting because it forces you... I really think this game forces you to understand the situation, and we only played 2 of the 12 scenarios, but understand the situation and understand what you can and cannot do.
And there's a brief bit of history in the rules for every different scenario that there is. There's not a ton, but it's enough to tell you what you should be doing. Usually it's pretty obvious. It's like, these guys attack these guys, or you're in a column marching through a forest, you have to get to the end and not die.
That was one
things like that, which are cool So, if even someone who's never played a war game before, if this was your first war game, it's really easy to learn. The rules themselves, 3-4 pages?
If that,
actual
I think it's
rules.
3 or 4 pages. Yeah.
Really, it's 1, 2, 3, 4.5 pages of rules.
The rest of that book is scenarios,
and half of this is pictures.
Yep.
Really, it's like 3 pages of rules at best.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to learn, and as such, it's simplistic. You're not going to get some kind of brain-burning complexity here.
No.
That simplifies a lot of your decision making. It's like, do I attack with my strong units or my weak units? That's where a lot of where it gets into. Oh, my guys are reduced. I'll try and keep them behind. But this is designed for people who have never played a war game before. Will be able to pick this up, and it'll be very, very easy to learn.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the game sets out to do, and
Right.
I believe it is successful.
But the designer talked about, Bill Molyneux, the designer, talked about his main audience, I think, for the game was basically tourists, historical tourists that go to these old Northwest Territory forts, Fort Pitt, Fort William Henry, and go to see the history and see these reenactments and have an interest in this, but aren't necessarily hardcore, heavy into gaming, but they might buy this at the gift shop.
Yes.
And I know he's actually sold quite a few to the gift shops where they've stocked them and then people have purchased them.
And
so
he's made a ton of games over the years. Lots of folio games, things like that. He's been doing this for years. I know, gosh, I don't know if it was this game, but he's even sold them abroad to museums in France.
Right.
They do their reenactments for the day and people come and watch. And, he'd then set up a little card table and have
show,
10 or 15 for sale. People are buying.
Yeah.
So he's a very interesting industrial man and industrious. I apologize.
Yeah.
He's not a machine. No, but it was cool meeting him at WBC. We sat down and had dinner together. Fascinating guy. He has a great passion for this period and for this game. He's put a lot into it, and to make a game. Something I learned at WBC is making a simple game is very hard. That's something that Mark Herman said, and I understand that because you want to put in this and put in that, and how do I do this?
But all of a sudden it's complex then.
Yeah, and stripping that down and leaving a game that's still fun and playable and easy to learn.
Yep.
There's a talent to that, and this kind of checks a lot of those boxes.
Yeah.
And I think if I go to a museum, I could pick this game up. I could play this with my kids.
Absolutely.
If they're, especially if they're teenagers, very easy to learn. Rules aren't complex or anything like that, and it's quick, and then it's over with.
And I think from our experience in just the 2 scenarios we played, I would have to say those scenarios were very historically oriented.
Yeah, this is a lot of simulation here.
Right.
You're not necessarily going to get like the first,
a fair fight.
Yeah, the first one we played, it was just like
it was Jumonville, Glen, and I think you had 4 units in the middle of
it was Washington trying to avenge
Fort
his
Necessity.
death.
Fort Necessity.
That's what it was.
So it was pretty basic. It was you had 3 or 4 units. I had 6 or 7 units, and
I'm trying to not die.
I had you surrounded, and so.
But yeah, there's a lot of historicity in the game. Very easy to learn. What we'll do is we'll kind of show you a little bit about the gameplay. I'll probably show you all of it because it takes like 2 minutes to learn, which is good. And then we'll come back for some final thoughts. So here's a look at the map. Like you see, it's nice and small. There's my hand for scale. There you go. That's not very scientific, but it is what it is. This is the Fort William Henry scenario. This is how it ended, as you can tell. Crushing defeat for the British, which it was a defeat for them historically, so it is what it is. But if you kind of look at the map, you will see, it's really great, really clear terrain. You've got a nice fort here, you've got some kind of swamps. This is the lake on the back. You've got nice forests, some rough terrain over there. There's a big hill. Nice road going up. You have some entrenchments up here, which these French cannons are in. And then there's a kind of a fortified camp down here. But, it's nice quality looking artwork. If you watched the unboxing, you saw the counters, but we'll show you here real quick. Just beautiful. These are laser cut, so you get the printed on there, so they look fantastic. The detail is very crisp, very clean, so we're loving those. Plus they smell great. You want to do a little bit of cleaning when you get them. Just get a napkin and wipe off the edges, because they have these, you get like some soot from the laser cutting, which we can't see apparently on the edges, whatever. The game itself, it's played all of the maps. This is like the biggest size map printed on here. Some of them are really small, some of them are like just the size of hexes this big, and it's just really bloody and you just get into it very quickly. But honestly, the game is as simple as, this is a unit, this 2 is its movement value, and the kind of 1-7 is its combat value. So you just need to roll on a d10 under a 7 to get a hit. There's a few modifiers for terrain, and then other kind of effects. We played on where the weather, it was raining, so all of the powder was wet, so you'd have a +1 to your rolls for misfires, things like that. But that was in the scenario. Then you've got some cannons here. You've got some heavy cannons. The only difference here is they have this range, this 1, 3, 5 number here. 1 is short range, where if they're shooting at short range, they get +1. 2 and 3 is medium range, no modifiers. 4 and 5 is long range. They actually take a penalty to their roll. So at close range, they get a -1 because you want to roll low in this game, and at long range, they get a +1. So that's harder to hit at long range. But that's a really simple way of doing artillery. Basically, you'll be moving with movement factors. It's all on this blade here. So you've got 2 sheets. This has got a turn track on it. That's really all you'll need space-wise for the game. I just get a few counters on the board. These letters on here are where the people are set up. So the French are all on these Fs here and down here. And then the British start in the fort here, and then in the camp here as well. But you basically move, and then there's defensive fire. So any units, set up a couple of units here. So the French move in, then the British get to shoot at any adjacent enemies. You can only fire once, so this guy who's adjacent to 2 enemies just got to pick 1 to shoot at. So moving is dangerous. You have to move in to kind of close the gap, to kill people, to fire infantry, and to take objectives. But it's dangerous. So you just do all your defensive fire. This guy has to roll a 6 or less to hit him, because he's got that 6 combat value. Roll a d10. I rolled an 8, so I missed. Fantastic. That is very typical of my rolling. Then the cannon's going to fire on him. I need a 7 or less. But because I'm at that 1 range, short range, I get a -1. So really an 8 or less is going to be a hit for me, which I get a 3, so he gets wounded. Oh, he's dead. He was only a single-step unit. If I'm a 2-step unit, I would just get flipped. And then you do have to make a morale check to see if you're going to retreat. And you try to roll under that value. So they're trying to roll 5 or less, and they roll a 5, so they're good. But if you roll like a 9, they fail their check, and they're going to retreat backwards away from the enemy. And honestly, that's the game. Now, mechanics-wise, there's only a couple extra different bits and pieces. So these Indian units here, Indian units have this special ability where they roll 2d10 to try and get a hit. So you have basically 2 opportunities. You can only score 1 hit, you can't score 2 hits, but it's much more likely for them to do so. So these are very powerful. And what happens is, if they attack, I might take a wound and retreat. They can advance after combat and go again. And so you start getting into... These guys are really good hunter-killers. So it's very important to kill the Indians and get them early, or weaken them, because once these guys flip, they lose their 6 value, go down to a 3. That makes them much less potent. Whereas the trained soldiers go from like a 7 to a 6. So even reduced, they still retain their fighting strength. So there's some really cool nuance to your unit composition, especially if you're playing as the French there as well. And that's something that I really enjoyed, is in a game this small, how much they were able to cram in whilst keeping it simple and not losing anything. Outside of that, you might have a leader, but a leader on a unit basically going to get +1. And if ever this unit takes a wound, you just roll a d10. 1 through 5, your leader dies and goes to he's dead. And it's, again, really, really simple way of doing it all. And it's just move and fight, but look how small the map is. You don't get lost in grand, deep strategy. You know, you might try to do a pincer movement, but everything's so close. It's easy for anyone to learn and see this game and to get it picked up and to get it played. So that's really a lot of what the board is. There's 12 scenarios in here. You'll have whole different unit compositions each time, different situations. And if you want to kind of see all those maps, watch the unboxing that Grant did. But what we'll do is we'll just wrap up here with some final thoughts. So that was a look at the game. Yeah, there's not a ton on the table, so this actually makes a pretty good lunch break game at work.
Yeah.
Like that's, you know, 2 little pieces of paper and 4 or 5 counters. You got a D10. That's all you really need. You can also, you know, bash out 3 or 4 in 45, 50 minutes. Wouldn't take you very long.
Yeah.
Makes a good solo game as well. There's no hidden information or anything like that. You just kind of do your best possible moves. So if you wanted to just get this to explore some of the historical aspects of it, it's really good for that as well.
Yeah, I will also say, and you saw the counters when we went over the maps and stuff, but really well done counters. Mm-hmm. They're laser cut. They have the campfire smoke smell,
which is one of the best smells in wargaming.
Yes, you don't have to clip them. Yes, one of the best smells.
I don't know what else would be good smells in wargaming, but
you don't have to clip them. They're pre-rounded. They punch out very easy. They look nice. You can specifically tell the differences in the French and the British units. Great art. I really like the counters. The maps are well done. They're very basic and very, very small.
But they're really nice, though. That's like really
very
nice
well
printed
done.
terrain.
Beautiful presentation and style, and really a joy to play. I look forward to potentially playing this as part of our Friday Night Fights series with my wife. I think she would. This would be a nice precursor to a game like, say, Tank on Tank.
Yes.
East Front or West Front. I have East Front. I think you own West Front.
West Front one, yeah.
From Lock and Load Publishing, and I would eventually love to try Combat Commander with Paisley, and I think this will be a good. It'll teach those concepts.
Yeah,
right?
You get some of the strategy and tactics out of this as well to go, graduate onto bigger games.
Right.
But yeah, this has been Bloody Mohawk, which is the French-Indian War from Lock and Load Publishing. Great introductory game. You could play this with almost anyone because
at almost any location. I mean, you could take this to work and do it at a lunch table very quick.
But it ticks all those boxes. It looks great. It plays very, very quickly. Very easy to learn. That's what you want in an introductory game.
Yeah.
And you get a bunch of scenarios, so it's not the same thing over and over again every time. So
yeah, I think for an intro level game with 12 scenarios, that's pretty amazing. Mm-hmm. Very uncommon. Usually an intro level game has 1 or 2 scenarios. But this has 12.
Especially with the amount of history in here as well.
Right.
It's not just like a generic firefight. You actually learn quite a lot going through the ages doing all the scenarios. So kudos to Bill for making a game like this. Had a blast playing it. I can't wait to watch you and Paisley play it.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun.
So thank you very much for tuning in. I've been Alexander.
And I've been Grant.
Thank you.